Hey guys, it's Craig. I know that we've all forgotten that I had a YouTube channel. Honestly, I did, but getting back out here into the garage. So it's been a long time, I think, since I've made a video, but here we are. I'm all dressed up, fancy pants. Anyways, been a long time since I've made a video, and the 9.3 is all back together. It's actually out in the driveway, broken, but it's all back together. I think the front seal let go. It's leaking oil all over the place. In either case, I got the 9.5 in the garage. I don't know if I've ever shown this to you guys, but it's an 04 9.5. I bought it almost 2 years ago, and it had like 70,000 miles on it. It's a manual, black. It is not in great shape. You can probably see the scratches all over it. It was a city car who spent all its whole life in DC, so it's beat up. But interior is immaculate, although it's not now because I commute in it and I drive a lot, so there's food and stuff all over it. And the engine was also immaculate. But the purpose of this video really is just to show you guys that the 9.5 is being worked on. So really brief. I'm going to keep this video pretty brief, and then we'll get busy with making longer videos, hopefully less rambling. But short version is we get the bumpers off. So if any of you guys are starting to or want to start working on one of these, there's a couple things. One is that the headlights don't come off the same way as the earlier ones. So if you haven't ever done one of these, what's really interesting is you have to reach way back. Oh, I can't see it here, and it's out, so you definitely can't see it. But the gist of it is, on the corner lights, this tab, let's see if I can put it back and show. So when you're taking headlights out on this thing, and I don't think this is going to go back together the way I want it to. But when you're taking this thing apart, you have to reach in there and get the tab. You can probably see it right now. But there's a tab over there that you have to push down. It took me like 20 minutes to remember that because I had taken the headlights out to polish them once. But just a couple tips. So bumper removal for these things, especially the ones with the headlight washers, this is a pain in the ass. The headlight washers also have clips on them that you have to be very careful with. Essentially, what's going to happen is when the bumper is on, what you're going to see is this. When you're looking down, you're going to see, we'll just do this. You're going to see this. And right here, there's two little tabs. And what you have to do is you have to pull them out and then push them down. The clip is actually underneath. It goes under here. You can see there's like a gap for it. They break. They break all the time, especially now that this car is 20 years old. So when you take these apart, see if you have replacements or you can find replacements. I've heard that if you take these apart and the clip breaks, that you can just use a wire. So we'll see if that is actually the case. We'll have to get in there and take a look. Oh yeah, I could see how that would work. So what you'd probably have to do is actually run the wire up from the bottom because it's got these grooves, and then you could probably oops, I got that upside down. Tie it nice and tight. And essentially what happens is when there's pressure behind this thing, it just pops out. This thing pops out and then it sprays. But as far as taking your bumper off, you got to pop out these little clips right here. Excuse my sniffles. It is like 35 degrees out here. You got to pop these clips out so they go out and then down, and then they're attached at the bottom. There's it's like a half circle in the bottom. But mine broke. I was hoping that I could take them out and show you guys, but mine broke. I think they both broke. This one just vanished. I don't know if it broke. I'm assuming it did. Is that it? I don't know. This also fell out of my bumper. I don't know where that came from, but in either case, so those are like the big things. So the other part of it too, so there's always, if you have the WIS, you can find the instructions pretty easily. But the other thing that was kind of scary is on this one, you got to just pull the bumper out of these clips, and man, does it sound awful. It sounds like you are ripping your bumper apart. But once you take that and that And then once you get the headlights out and you take out this bolt, or maybe this bolt and this bolt, they're here, you can tell where they are. Once you get the headlights out, it's kind of unnerving the amount of effort you have to put into that. But bumper's off, and now we're gonna start. Oh yeah, here's that clip that broke. Here's part of it anyways. So sadly, it's like a thing, they break. So I have a feeling that I'll end up having to do wire to replace it. But just some really thin wire will apparently work. And then you just twist it up at the top with a pair of pliers and you should be good. So list of stuff that needs to be done. This is all done because the radiator, well, two things. The radiator leaks. You probably can't see it, but radiator leaks. And then there's an exhaust leak. You can see the soot up here. So it's got an exhaust leak and the radiator leaks. So manifold's coming off, radiator's coming off. Intercooler's also coming out to be replaced with that. Exhaust is being replaced with the JT. The turbo is actually being replaced with an 06, which is not in here. And then the exhaust housing on that is going to be replaced with the Kinagawa. This is the 7-centimeter housing. So I figured since I have it all apart, I'll do some upgrades. I also have a SAS manifold that I got secondhand, so that's going to be going in. So I really just wanted to get a little bit of it apart today, kind of get a feel. And then from this point, it's like just removing stuff. Intake has to come off, so pretty easy. Plastic pipe comes off, the intercooler hoses come out, drain the coolant, and then most of the work is going to be done from the bottom once that's done. I also have, trying to do this without breathing, it sounds like. I have some silicone hoses have been replaced, but there's ones like at the bottom that haven't been replaced, the hard to reach ones. So like the U and the one from the water pump. So while this is apart, I'm going to be doing those too. So should be fun. I'm going to try not to be rambly like I always am, but it's tough because it's just me. So I can't like record and be like, hey, what's up guys? Beep, 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 beep. So bear with me until I have a full-time camera guy. It's going to be kind of rambling as I describe what I did or what I'm doing. Thanks a bunch. Videos will hopefully be relatively short, but helpful. So follow along. Oh yeah, see how messy it is? The joys of 60-mile commutes and kids, but that's where we are. There's headlights. There's my bumper. So fun times. Oh yeah, I also got this guy. Picked up a spare 234, although it's from an automatic, so it has the Garrett turbo, which is kind of lame, but I haven't taken it apart. It's a mystery. This came from Sports Car Service Center up in Delaware. I think this thing's been sitting for at least a decade. The turbo it barely moves. I have no idea what this is going to be like. I have no idea if there's bearing damage. I have no idea. So we'll see, guys, and bear with me as I get back in the swing of doing this stuff. Shout out, if you guys want to see anything, if you have any questions, if you want to see anything done, questions while you're in here about how to do something, let me know. I'm happy to oblige and show, especially while it's all apart. Thanks. Take care, guys. All right, so got a few minutes into working on this. Just really simple. Got the hose clamp up there removed. Get this is removed. The 10 mil that's down there lets you just take this all out as one piece. I'm about to remove the hose clamp here from the intercooler pipe. That's going to get all that out of there. And there's also this 13 mil here that you've got to get out. Then once that's all out, I'm going to drain the coolant, and then I'll be able to remove the coolant hoses that are in the way. My ultimate goal here is to just make as much space as I can so that working in here will be as easy as possible. Once the coolant is drained and the radiator and the intercooler are out, I'm going to leave those out so that I have space to work on the turbo and stuff. So I'll check back in a few minutes and update you as I go. Got the intake pipe off. Like I said, just 7 mil there, 13 mil here, 10 mil there. And then once you have the bumper off, you can get to it pretty easy. The intercooler's right here with another 7 mil. Now, once the intercooler's off, you can reach right in. It's probably easier from the inside. But you can reach right in here, open the petcock, and like I said, coolant drops right out the bottom. I'm about to squeeze the pipes to make sure everything's out of there. But what I'm on to next is, since my intention is to run a open intake on this, I'm about to remove the snorkel. Now, some guys update these. I think the diesels in the UK were better. I don't know. I always just take them off. So once the bumper's off, it's a little 8 mil here. Although mine's twisted, which means it might have been removed at some point. 8 mil there, 7 mil here for the hose clamp, and then underneath we've got two 10 mil. Where did they go? So, oops, drop my ratchets right here. 10. Once that's removed, the whole box is going to come out. It'll probably come out with the hose that's up there on it. I already took the MAF out, so the airflow meter's already out, so this thing will just drop down. And I'm just going to leave it open and out. Like I said, I'm really just going for, just going for the maximum. Almost dropped my phone. Doesn't have a case on it. I was cleaning the lens, so. So once that's done, we will we'll just leave it open. All right, guys. So once those little nuts are out there, we got this guy here, that guy there. Airbox, you're just basically pushing it up over to get over the hump, and then you're gonna wiggle it down. Now, it's not gonna drop right out because this hose is still attached to it. So bear with me here. I'm just gonna do that real quick. All right. So those of us that are doing cold air intakes, once this guy we're gonna save this. We need this because ultimately this 3-inch pipe that goes right to the filter, this gets clamped onto that. So this is where the airflow meter is, and then we're gonna reuse this. So any of you guys doing this, just make sure you hang on to this. Now there are, I think Genuine Saab sells a like a kit that actually comes with a bracket that you can bolt on, because when you do the whole DIY one, you basically have the filter hanging off this, which is not ideal, but I've gone years in my old car without having to buy the bracket or use the bracket. But essentially what you'll buy is just an aluminum 3-inch adapter, which you can get those on eBay for like 10 or 15 bucks, and then a universal K&N. Now this is one of their new select ones, which are, you don't oil them, so GM MAFs don't like the oil from K&Ns, so this one is not oiled, and we're going to see how. I have used oil in the past, but I figured I'd give this one a shot, see how it works. Alright guys, so moving on to the next thing here, taking the oil cooler down. So again, I'm just going for space initially. There's not really a rhyme or reason here, but what I'm doing is I'm about to remove this bolt for the oil cooler, that bolt for the oil cooler, and then this is just going to hang out of the way. It does sit right under the intercooler, so in order to get the intercooler out, we've got to take this out. It's on soft hoses here, so once we do that, we can swing it out of the way. Probably just let it hang, but if I really have to, it can swing all the way over there just to get space. We're going to leave, these are the power steering lines, these are going to stay where they are, no issue there. And like I said, the condenser should be able to stay where it is. Sorry, I realized that I'm super close here, but removing a few nuts and bolts as we go through here. After this is done, I'm going to try to get these brackets off. The coolant is drained. I also just noticed while I was under here, but there's coolant towards the back of the engine, and pretty sure that I replaced the coolant bypass valve with the European hoses. So I'd be really surprised if that was leaking from there, but I'll have to track that down, fix that while I'm on here. I mean, this car's been parked in here for like 2 or 3 weeks, and it's a little bit of a puddle, but I don't know exactly where it's coming from, so I'll have to figure it out. Take the oil cooler out, I did actually have to move the power steering line. There's 2 little 10 millimeters here, so this thing actually sits on top of this little bracket under here. You can see where it is now, but so this one here, and then there's one on the other side, and you just take the bottom nut out, and then this, oops, I just jammed it in somewhere, hang on, and then that comes out of the way. and then that gives you access to the two 10 mils that hold the oil cooler in, and then these they're both flexible. So here we are. They're both moved out of the way, which is going to give us access to the intercooler, which you can't see, and then the radiator, which is right there that you can see the bottom of it. So now these brackets right here will come off, and then that should give me the ability to start pulling stuff down. So intercooler is disconnected. It's not disconnected yet from the condenser, so I'm gonna have to do that. Those look like 10s, maybe 11s, but we're gonna disconnect this one on each side, and then that should allow the radiator to just come, or the intercooler come right down. I'll show you what it's like when it's out. 13 mils for the bracket removed here and here. Now I tend to be the type of person that once I pull a bolt out, I like to put it back where it came from. So I am going to do this here. Do what you will with this, I guess. But I tend to do that. It just makes it easier when it's time to put things back together. You're like, oh, well, this is obviously the bolt that goes here because that's where it is. So now this bolt that I'm putting in right now that I'm threading is actually going into the intercooler, which is going in the bin. Mighty Carmons. That's what I like to do. So what I'll end up doing, so these are the two little nuts that came off of the power steering line. So as a habit, I will generally put those back on so that later on when I'm putting it back together, I'm not trying to scramble and find like what bolts went where, but that's what I like to do. You know, you can do what you'd like, I guess, but it makes it a little bit easier, like I said, when it's time to put things back together and you have your bolts all where they should be. All right, so AC condenser right here. There's a 10 mil. Just when you take it out, it's got a little piece of plastic. So this is to direct the air. It's like a shroud, a little shroud to keep the air going over the AC condenser and not around it. So just make sure you hang on to this because you're gonna want it later. But little 10 mil, pop that guy out, and then the same on the other side. Now when you do whichever one you do first, I guess it doesn't matter, but the other one is going to be a little bit harder to take out because of the weight of the condenser. The weight of the condenser is on it. So once you loosen those though, that's all you really have to do, because now all you really want is separation from the intercooler so that the intercooler can drop out. But so that's done. I already have the bracket done, so what I'm going to do is mess around with this guy a little bit. I'm going to get rid of this hose. So in my case, I already have some silicone hoses here, and I don't know if I mentioned it before, but there's a couple hoses in here that are not silicone. Those, if I have silicone replacements for them, which you might be able to see over there. I don't know if my phone will focus on that. I'm sorry. I have silicone replacements, so anything I have a silicone replacement for, I'm gonna do. So I know that when I did them, I didn't do the U or the one that comes right off the water pump, so we're gonna do those. All right, guys, so getting hoses out of the way here, and I just wanted to make sure I had the space. So I took the battery out. Pretty easy stuff. There's a when the battery tray is down there, there's this 13 mil that just holds the battery down on the lip of the battery, but then I always like to take the tray out anyway so that I have all of this room in here and I don't have to worry about the tray being in the way. So once the battery's out, there's one, 2, 3 10 mils that hold it down to the bottom, and then you've got this fuse block here. You're actually going to pull these tabs out, and then you can wiggle this guy out, and then the box comes right out. So fuse can stay there. Not a big deal. And then this gives you tons of space. So we're gonna get this 10 mil out. I just had a wrench in my hand. God, how many times do you guys do that? Where you're like, oh, I have this really important thing in my hand, and then you put it down and it's gone forever. I think I brought it inside. All right, I did in fact bring it inside. Uh-oh, the music, I'm gonna get in trouble. Boop. This is one of the nice things about doing with your phone. Let me just see if my hand is, yeah, here we go. One of the nice things about recording with your phone is that it automatically turns off music if that's if you're using the camera. Like it'll pause Pandora or whatever, because what ends up happening with all my videos is I go through and I make all these videos, and then I go to like edit them or upload them to YouTube, and they're like, oh, you are listening to music. Which doesn't matter because I'm not monetized, but be a giant pain in the butt if I was, because you get copyright strikes and then you can't make money. Or what ends up happening is like the music companies, they go and put ads on your videos and you don't get any of it. You know, they get their half a nickel, half a penny, whatever. I guess half a nickel's 2.5 cents. But they get their half a penny per ad, and you guys have to see ads, and I don't get any. But we're gonna get this guy out. Also, I'm sure you guys see I wear gloves. Gotta wear gloves. I did not for a really, really long time, and now my hands every winter, I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but every winter my hands get super cracked. And then like as soon as I touch oil or like the rust or whatever that's on the car, it just immediately dries out and cracks my hands. Cardboard is the worst. Let me get a hell yeah if the cardboard messes up your skin. All right, so this looks like we're gonna take out 2 connectors here for the radiator fans. 1 and 2. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, that's worse when these things don't come out. You gotta pry them up, and then they like break them, they crack. Oh, these came out good. All right, so these you just pry them up a little bit while you pull the connector. And usually, oops, Jesus, usually they come right off. There we go. That one's disconnected, that one's disconnected. There's also this hose that goes across the top. It's easiest to just disconnect it from the expansion valve here. I have to grab a Is it done all the way through? That looks a little saggy. Alright, I had to grab a pair of pliers, and this is actually going to be off camera, but if I try to move it, I'm sure the camera's like wedged in. Ooh. There we go. I'll show you this in a second here. There we go. So this hose that goes right along underneath, it's not the highest point, but it's to get air bubbles and stuff out of the radiator if there are any, but it goes right back here. So you just pull a little give a little twisty twist so that it's undone. And now the radiator is loose, but the fans should be removable. Just this, hopefully it doesn't fall. Let's see how this goes. So I do know that it has to go up. Oh yeah, look at that. All right, we gotta disconnect, just get this out of here so it doesn't get hung up. There we go, that's done. Gotta make sure, so this hose that I was talking about, it's got these clips that hold it in. That is gonna have to be undone. I'm gonna have to break one. I suppose the right thing would be to stick a screwdriver in there. Oh, let's see if I have one. I don't have a screwdriver. Let's see if I can push this pin so that I don't break it. Oh, snap. Didn't break it. So that's loose. This is off. These fans, oh Jesus, these fans look like they're about to just slide right on out. Here we go. Oh man, I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking the radiator was coming out with the fans. Not really a good thought there. So, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do the right thing here. Instead of breaking these, having a rage snap, we're gonna use a little thing, push down the white thing, and then pull up the white thing, push down the white thing. Oh, this one broke. Oops, it's gone. All right, so 9.5 radiator fans, much different than 9.3, come right out. I don't know that I ever replaced the thermostat in this car. So, but we've got this done, and then now we're really just going to remove the radiator and stuff. I am going to take this clamp off. I probably should have just done this from the beginning. I was not really thinking clearly when I did it initially, but there you go. Quick hit with the pliers just to get that up, and then rubber hose just gets a twist to break it loose, and then that should pop right off. There we go. So then this is that hose that goes over the top of the radiator. I think I actually have a silicone version of this. So in the bin, and then I think we're gonna start lowering stuff out the bottom. So let's go. Here we go. Guys, it's cold here. It was like 70 degrees yesterday. It's January 25th, 6th, something like that. And it was like 70 degrees here yesterday. And then now we are back down to like the 50s, which is absolutely okay for January, but kind of a bummer. I couldn't get out here yesterday when it was super nice out. All right, so if you can see it, we're gonna start taking this bracket down. Since the radiator's empty, everything's disconnected, bracket's off, just gonna wiggle down. The petcock might still be open. The tab that goes into the bracket here is also the petcock. So now this is a little bit lower, so I'm sure some coolant's gonna drip out of it. So then we're gonna go over to this side. Whoop. Same deal. Adjust you. So this one, same thing. Now this intercooler hose is kind of in the way, but I haven't really got enough room in there to take it off the turbo. But once this is off, there'll be plenty of room. So same thing, we're just gonna lift up on the heat exchangers in here. So, oh yeah, you can hear that. I think that made the radiator lower, which is drawing some coolant out. So those brackets are off. Now, again, I'm gonna move those over. Now that everything's off the brackets, I'm gonna put these 13 mils back on. All right, so guys, like I said, 9.5s are actually meant to come out the bottom, but I think that once you get the fans and stuff off here, and you can lower it to get the pressure off these pins, you might be able to see it in here. But on the top of the radiator, there are these little brackets that have pins on them, and they put downward pressure so that the radiator is pushing against the bottom bracket. I think once you take that bottom bracket out though, then you can take these guys off. Oop. I think the radiator can actually come right out the top without having to crawl down on the ground. So I gotta close this so it's not leaking anymore. Let's see, anything else connected to this? What's going on? Oh yeah, I never disconnected the coolant hose that's on this. So where's that clamp? All right, it's right here. So what I'm gonna try and do, actually, can I get the radiator out? I don't think I'll be able to get the radiator out without the intercooler out. So the hose is holding it back on, holding it in, back on this side. So, there we go. So what I'm gonna do is try to get this hose off. You guys can tell I'm new at this. It's bizarre. I've been doing this for 20-something years. And like, sometimes you get into a project and you're like, oh, how did I forget this ridiculously simple thing that anybody that's ever worked on a car before would know? And then you're like, oh, because I'm an idiot. And I'm in a rush. That's how things get broken. That's how projects go from, oh, you know what I should do? I'm gonna have everything apart What I'm probably gonna do is, once I get this all apart, order a water pump. Yeah, this hose is so stuck on the water pump. This has to be original. It's, I think I just broke it loose. There we go. There we go. So, move that. There we go. There we go. So, radiator is out. All right, so radiator's out, and now there's going to be enough room. There has to be enough room for the intercooler to come out. So the intercooler, this is definitely the original one. It's got the Saab stamp on it, but this one will be a little bit more of a fight because it's got this weird like end tank thing on it here. Let's see. You'll see it when I get it out here. So what's happening here is it's got this big tab that holds onto the AC condenser. Condenser. I was right the first time. And that's hitting the radiator support. I think once I get it past that, there we go. Now I have enough room. Holy moly. Then we can come back this way. So, stock intercooler. There's nothing wrong with this one. It's the original one. It's a stock factory intercooler. It's not substantial. It's certainly good enough for factory, you know, the 250 or whatever horsepower it makes. I'm going to grab the replacement here in a second. But the... All right, so we've got everything out. Everything comes up the top. I just ordered an upgraded one. This one definitely has a thicker core. It's going to take up a little bit more space. Luckily, the AC condenser, holy moly, is movable. So this guy is going to take up a little bit more space, which means it's probably going to have to go up from the bottom. If we just saw how difficult it was to get the original one out the top, this one's going to be even harder. So we're going to get this in, but it's not going to be today, probably not this weekend, because I'm going to have to take more of this out and then get to the water pump and replace that. But all right, so we're going to take the BPC off first. That's going to be the simplest thing. We're just going to pull. So one side is smooth, the other side you got to work past a little bit of a spaded end, but we're just going to pull this off. Now, I'm just going to let this hang for now because it's already bolted here, and then the rest of this is just two really quick clamps to get it off. So we're just going to move that out of the way for now, move this out of the way. These newer 9.5s, actually all the Saabs anyways, have the quick release here, so you just push down the red ring, pull up the hose, and then we're just going to move that out of the way. Same thing, just out of the way for now. I'm going to take off the bracket that holds the Cobra on here. This is two 13s. Pennies up, so I get to use my power tools. Sit them in there. So I do have a ratchet, one of those Milwaukee snobs, but I have a ratchet as well. But it's not a fuel, so it's not very strong, and it doesn't break bolts loose very well, I should say. So I tend to use the impact for removal. So there's that. Oh, this is loose. Look at that. Probably a big old intake leak in there. I never got any check engines for a like a lean situation, but kind of surprised if we're being honest. T7's usually on that. So now the nice thing about the earlier turbos, even though it has the longer snout, the Cobra pipe that comes on these, you can pull it out without taking the whole turbo out. The newer ones, the Cobra pipe is so big that it doesn't fit through between the turbo, even with the shorter snout. It doesn't fit with the turbo and the... I gotta take this hose off. I thought it would just pop right off. There we go. It doesn't fit with the between the turbo and the water pump. So let's try downpipe bolts. Oh, I broke my glove. So one of the best things I ever bought, this is a million years old. This, I think I bought it at Sears when I lived back in Massachusetts, when Sears existed and you can walk into their Craftsman. Although I don't think it's a Craftsman. I don't know, but in either case, it's got a little swivel, so you can push the socket all the way on and it's straight on, but if you pull it out a little bit, it gets a little bit of a swivel in it. It's probably like 15 degrees. But man, does that come in handy when you're doing things like the downpipe bolts and stuff like that. So now, since neither the turbo or the downpipe are being reused, I'm gonna crank these off. If they break, they break. Nope, they turn right off. Look at these things. So just put the ratchet on them and they just come undone. So I can't tell from here if the stud's backing out or if the nut's coming off, but I don't particularly care either way. Oh, stud came out. So that's good, that's easy. Let's try number 2. I didn't spray the bottom one, but let's check number 2. Oh, same thing. Oh my God, it just came right off. Oh, that's probably why the gasket's blown out. Oh my God, they're like hand tight. Oh, except for this one. Yeah, they're all like basically hand tight. Dang. Well, that's good. Let's try this guy. Same. Oh man. Oh. It's a tight space. Yeah, it's going. Oh man. Oh man. They're all coming right out. Guys, this is gonna be the easiest project ever. Damn. I promised Fallon that I was going to be done soon, and I'm gonna stop here. So, here we are. We've got most of the bolts confirmed. Everything's coming apart. Pretty sure it's got a relatively new turbo in it. It's got a Saab stamp on it, so it's not a Chinese one. I think when you look at them, they have build dates and serial numbers and stuff, so have to check that guy out. But we're moving along. I'm going to pause here. I'll probably see if I can throw this together in a video, but we're going to pump the brakes here, as we say at work. We're going to circle back. But when I come back, I have to go over to the water pump. But next video, we're definitely going to get exhaust off, get turbo off, get the stuff off here so I can get to the water pump and replace that. And then we can start putting it back together with all the fun stuff. But I appreciate you guys hanging out and watching me work on the car. And if you're into this, if you know any Saab guys, send them the link, subscribe, tell me how good or bad of a job I'm doing here. If you got any suggestions, questions, let me know, and I'll address whatever I can. I am by no means an expert, but I've been working on Saab since, I don't know, God. My first was my first two, they were basically back to back. I had an 87 and then an 89 9000 turbo, both automatics. And that was 2001. It's right around there, because it was when I first started getting into banking. I had them and I would commute down to Rhode Island in them. But again, reach out, send comments, ask questions. I'm happy to help. And thanks guys, I appreciate you sticking around and watching me wrench.